You guys, this is Antoine, aka the Bigfella. It's Tuesday night. I've been contemplating all night to even upload this video. I disassembled and reassembled my Mossberg 500 for you guys. To me, it was kind of an epic failure. I bumbled and stumbled through most of it. I didn't know a lot of the names of the parts that I was taking out of the gun. And, I had trouble putting the gun together on camera. And, yeah, it was just an epic failure to me. But a couple of you guys asked me to do this video, so I didn't want to disappoint. I had shot my gun Sunday, so I figured this would be the perfect time to do it because I wanted to clean it and take it apart. Forgot to hit record while I was cleaning the gun. So after I got it back together, I took it apart on camera and tried to assemble it for you guys. But yeah, you guys will see. But if you guys see any room for improvement, definitely leave me some comments down there in the description box below. But without further ado, here's me putting my Mossberg 500 back together. Alright you guys, I got everything set up. Unfortunately, I forgot to hit record as I was going through cleaning this, so I'll kind of walk you guys through what I do to clean my shotgun. Keep in mind, I'm fairly new at this, taking this thing apart, so I might stumble through it a little bit, but you'll get the gist of what I'm doing here. First, you want to make sure the safety is on, and there is nothing in the magazine tube there. And also that there's nothing in the chamber. You just want to take your pinky and just stick it up in there and make sure there's no shell in there. I can just cock my gun full. So as you know, it doesn't cock anymore, so you got to hit the little release switch right here behind the trigger housing. I like to cock it halfway just like that. It makes pulling the barrel off a whole lot easier. And to do that, you just unscrew this little cap here at the end of the magazine tube. And the barrel comes right off. And what I like to do is take one of these cleaning rods with the 12 gauge brush on the end of it, and as you can see, here's one of my patches, and you just put it on the end of that. I use hops number 9. Kind of sort of soak the rag in that, the cleaning patch, and just pass through this end of the barrel, brush it all the way through. Now I like to let it sit in there to break up some more of the gunpowder in there. So I, pass it through there and set it off to the side. And then the next thing you want to do is grab a punch, or in my case, I have a small little screwdriver to take the trigger housing out. And the little punch to do that is right here. So you just apply some pressure, not a lot, and it pops right on up. And a little thing like that will come out. Make sure you set that aside so you can put the trigger housing back in there. Now the trigger housing just lifts right out of place, just like that. Now, and I'm sorry, I cannot remember what these little things are called, but you'll see one on each side of your the walls of your shotgun. Like if you run your fingers along the side right here, one of these will come out from one side, and there's another one. It has a notch on the side of your shotgun, on that side of the shotgun, that'll come out on that side, and they usually fall out pretty easy. I guess I have it in there really good, which is funny because they're so hard for me to get back in there. That usually takes me the longest to get those two things back in there. But once you have those out, you'll see that the little, I believe that's called the bolt. Don't quote me on that, but you kind of want to move your cock action there to where this is lined up with these little grooves here, which makes that a whole lot easier to pull out, just like that. Set that to the side. Also make note as to how it came out of there, because this little tab right here is going to fit in that little groove in this bolt. So you want to make sure you can get that back together in there, just like that. Now to get the bolt out here, you just kind of push it out through the front side where the barrel pushes in, and that comes out just like that. And this will pull out once you get all of that taken out. Whoops, just knocked my cleaning rod over. And then last but not least, the elevator. And you can grab it just like a pair of tweezers, squeeze it, and they are notched in right here. I'm sorry, right here, that's the trigger housing pin. They're notched in right here and one on that side. Just squeeze it to get it out of those little grooves, and it comes out just like that. So now all you have is this. Now I like to wipe everything down with Hops number 9, and I usually take a little Hops number 9 lube and lube the top half of that and all this good stuff. And then after I lube it, I'll let it sit for a little bit, wipe it down, and put everything back together. But let's go ahead and get this thing reassembled, which is this is the part where I fumble at the most, because it's so easy to take something apart. It's just hard to get it back together again. But I'm gonna wipe this stuff down a little bit, and we'll go ahead and put this thing back together. Alright, you guys, let's go ahead and get this thing reassembled here. First thing you want to do is put the elevator in, and like I was saying, that kind of pinches together like that. And you want them to go in these little notches to go into these holes right here, which is essentially the top of the gun, closest to the safety. So you pinch those, get them down in there, and just feed them through that little hole, and the elevator is in there. It'll swing up and down just like this. Next thing you want to do is get this in there, but you want to make sure that when you're putting this in, that it essentially goes in there like that. So when you're using the pump action, it slides it all back and forth, which is also going to look like that inside the gun when it's all said and done. Those little notches will go into the notches on that little carrier, and when you pump, it pulls everything forward. So let's go ahead and get that in there, and see if I can do it pretty fast, so don't take you guys' time. But you want to slide this with this part facing forward and that part facing the bottom of the gun in there. And you want, once you get it somewhere in there, you want to take your finger and apply some downward pressure so it stays close to the top of the gun, and just push it in there. It'll kind of raise the elevator a little bit, which is a-okay, but I kind of push it back as far as I can get it, and then make sure it can move in there really good. You can actually drop a little bit of lube on top of that to help that. I've done that already. Next thing you want to do is put your pump action on. Now there are two little holes on each side of the magazine chamber that those two arms go in. So you want to make sure this part is facing the bottom of the gun, and the magazine tube slides right through that little hole. And then when you get it that far, you actually kind of gotta maneuver the little arms to fit inside those holes, which for some reason is kind of hard for me today. There we go. And once you get that in there, it won't go anymore. You gotta stick your fingers down in there, maneuver through the channels that you can see in there. That's kind of hard to get on camera. If I had a camera guy, I can show you that a little bit better. But it'll go all the way back in there, just like so. Now you want to be able to drop this on those little arms that I showed you earlier, with the little tip going into this part of the bolt. And I may actually have this lined up right. Just drop it in there. Once I get it in there like that, you can move the pump so it'll fall in that little area. But then you got to kind of sort of take your finger inside that little gray bolt that I put in first through the hole here. Slide it up some so you can get that little lip to fit in there. I know my gun vocab is superb, so I'm sorry I don't know the names of all this stuff yet. Sorry guys, that took a little bit, but I got it all together. So if you apply some pressure on this and move the pump action, you'll feel it all moving together. And you just jiggle it, and you can actually see the elevator moving up and down as well. So that lets you know that you got that in there correctly. Now the hardest part for me is, I cock it about halfway to get these things in there. Now it'll be kind of obvious as to which side they go into, because there's a notch right here on that side of the gun that this part goes into. It has a notch on this one, the other one does not, and it's kind of hard to keep both of those in there. So I usually put this side in first. I mean, I guess that's just personal preference, but you kind of got to hold that in there with one finger up top, and then this part will go into the side. They're going just above this little carrier piece, and you got to kind of hold them in there. Like, I got my middle finger holding up one piece and the other, the pointer finger holding up the other piece. Excuse me. And now to get the trigger housing in there, you kind of got to pump your gun all the way forward, and the trigger housing will just you've got to put it in there at a downward angle into these, right between these little grooves. And sorry, I got to put some pressure on here. Whoops. And see, it's kind of hard to hold these little things in there without them falling apart while getting that in there. This part is the toughest part for me, but you're essentially going down in there like that, and you gotta get it to maneuver in there. But let me try to hold these while maneuvering that in there. Alright, what I just found out was a little bit easier for me is if I can get the one that doesn't have the little peg in there to hold it in place in that correct channel, and I can just use one finger to hold this other part in there. Gravity will help me out here, but you just kind of just drop it on in there, and of course it doesn't do it on camera, but it essentially will go in there. Just don't apply too much pressure before you break something, and it'll eventually work its way in there. You just gotta hold that one part without the peg in there up against there as flush as you can while holding the other part in there with the peg in it. But then you want to take your trigger housing pin and just shove it in there, and it should be, I can get it in there easy enough to where I can just shove it in with my finger. But just to get it nice and flush, as you can see, it's raised up a little bit, and then there's a little bit of an indentation on that side. Just take my screwdriver and just give it a little kiss to pop it back on. So now all that's in place, and then the easiest part of them all is getting the barrel back on there. And then I like to half cock it to make it a little bit easier to get the barrel on there, and that just slides in like so, kind of like this. And you can just screw it back to the magazine tube. Now, I like to do a function test after I get it all together. So I'll hold the little release pin and just cock it a couple times just to make sure it's nice and smooth. I'll hit the safety. I know it's unloaded, and fire just to make sure the fire pin goes off. So that's how I put my Mossberg 500 together. I know it was kind of torturous for you guys. It was kind of torturous for me, but I just wanted to show you guys how I like to put it together and take it apart, and what I like to clean and how I like to clean it. But there you have it. I got it all together. Now, I'm that guy that actually likes to take a little hops number 9 and clean the outside of my gun too, from all the fingerprints and water stains and stuff like that. But from after hunting on Saturday, I didn't see much water in here at all. I did find some debris, like some crunched up leaves in there, so I brushed all that out, and I think it'll work just fine. There's going to be some comments in there on how I can do this better. I'm definitely welcome to it. I know it's just going to take some time because I just bought this shotgun this year, and anything to help me do it better. If you guys have suggestions, definitely leave them down there in the comment section. But I am going to wipe down the outside of this before I go ahead and lock it up, so it looks brand spanking new. Yes, and I know this is a hunting tool that's going to get dirty in the woods, but I like taking pride in my stuff, and like taking care of it. Every once in a while I'll clean my Glock, even if it's been sitting up there. I mean, if you conceal carry it, it gets lint and stuff in there, so I like to, clean all that out and make it look nice, just because. But I'm just wiping the outside of my gun down with some of that hops number 9. There you have it, nice clean Mossberg. Look at the glistening effect on that thing there. Also, one of the other things that I forgot to mention that I always check, it happened to fall out of my little cleaning box, is I like to make sure that the choke at the end of my shotgun is tight. And my gun came with the little choke wrench. And with the choke, I'm sorry, there's just not enough room. You can kind of sort of see that it's notched. It just, fits in there. And just give it a little, you don't have to like crank it down so hard that you can't get it undone ever again. But just give it a little tightening. That's all it really needs. What I'm going to do for you guys is, since I bumbled and stumbled through this video, I'm going to put links to the videos that I watched down in the description box below that taught me how to disassemble and reassemble my Mossberg 500. I know this was kind of an epic failure, but I wanted to put this video on my channel for the few subscribers that asked me to do this kind of video for them. So here you guys go. Sorry, it was kind of an epic failure and I stumbled through most of it, but I'm going to make one in the future that's going to be a whole lot better, and I'll know all the names of the guns and the parts of the gun, and be able to put that in here for you. It's getting kind of cold out here, so I'm about to go back inside, and we're going to continue the weekday vlog. I'm still going to be in DC working all this week. I'm going to try to get some more footage for you guys for that. But I'm going to drop that video Friday at 9, and then I'm going to be doing the MTB LTB unboxing sometime that afternoon. And then we'll be on to the weekend vlog, so this week is going to be, want to drop a couple extra videos than I normally do. But I want to thank you guys very much for watching this episode of Bigfella Outdoors, even though it was a failure. Please tune in to the next episode where you can catch me outside doing what I love most, getting my dose of the great outdoors. Be sure to get y'all to see y'all Friday, 9 Eastern.